Battlefield 6 Portal became a home for zombies. When players talk about creativity in modern shooters, the conversation usually stops at cosmetics, balance patches, or seasonal content. Rarely does it touch on something deeper, the act of rebuilding a beloved genre inside a framework that was never designed for it. Night of the Undead, a custom Battlefield 6 Portal experience created by Tabbed Scamper, does exactly that. It is not merely a homage to classic zombie survival modes, it is a deliberate, technically ambitious reinterpretation that proves how far player-driven design can stretch the Battlefield sandbox. Built over months of iteration, testing, and refinement, Night of the Undead stands as one of the clearest demonstrations yet of what Battlefield Portal enables when it is treated not as a novelty, but as a full creative platform. Inspired by the tension, rhythm, and progression of Call of Duty, World at War's Zombies mode, the experience translates those ideas into Battlefield's mechanics while carefully avoiding direct imitation. The result is something that feels instantly familiar, yet structurally its own. This is not a zombies mod in the casual sense. It is a fully designed survival ecosystem. A labor of love, not a weekend experiment. What immediately sets Night of the Undead apart is intent. This was never a quick proof of concept or a gimmick map designed for viral attention. From the creator's own words, it is clear that the project emerged from months of late nights, repeated rebuilds, and relentless testing. That development philosophy shows in the details. Systems interact cleanly, progression feels intentional, and player agency is respected. Tabbed Scamper approached the project with a specific challenge in mind: how to capture the emotional arc of classic zombie survival: fear, scarcity, mastery, endurance inside a game whose DNA is rooted in large-scale combined arms combat. Battlefield is fast, open, and chaotic by default. Zombies require confinement, pressure, and controlled escalation. Reconciling those two design languages is not trivial. Yet Night of the Undead manages to strike that balance by embracing Battlefield's strengths instead of fighting them. Gunplay remains punchy and grounded. Movement is fluid and readable. Environmental navigation matters. Rather than feeling like Battlefield pretending to be another game, it feels like Battlefield discovering a new identity. Progression as the core experience. At the heart of Night of the Undead lies progression, not just numerical difficulty scaling, but spatial and strategic evolution. Players begin confined, vulnerable, and under-equipped. Survival is reactive. Ammunition is precious. Every decision carries weight. As rounds advance, the experience opens up. New areas become accessible, often requiring deliberate exploration and risk-taking. Hidden teddy bears encourage players to engage with the environment rather than simply kite enemies in circles. Unlocking space becomes a reward in itself, offering both breathing room and new threats. This approach mirrors the psychological pacing that made early zombie modes so compelling. The map does not simply get harder, it becomes more complex. The player's mental load increases alongside their mechanical power, creating a loop that sustains tension even after the initial novelty fades. Crucially, this progression never feels arbitrary. Each unlock, each upgrade, each new mechanic is introduced with clarity. Players understand why they are stronger and why the undead are too. Custom perks without copying the past. One of the most impressive aspects of Night of the Undead is how it handles perks and power UPS. Rather than directly referencing iconic abilities from other franchises, tabbed Scamper designed an entirely new naming and functional system that evokes familiarity without infringement. Perks such as Vigorjet and Speedjet clearly communicate their purpose while remaining thematically grounded in Battlefield's techno-militaristic aesthetic. These perks are not simply passive bonuses, they meaningfully reshape how players approach combat, movement, and survival. Power UPS are equally thoughtful. They appear at critical moments, offering relief without undermining challenge. Their integration respects pacing rather than disrupting it, reinforcing the sense that the experience is carefully tuned rather than randomly assembled. This design restraint is important. Nostalgia is used as a guiding influence, not a crutch. Players recognize the rhythm, but they are never pulled out of immersion by overt references or recycled assets. Weapons, risk, and decision-making. Weapon acquisition in Night of the Undead is built around choice and consequence. Wall weapons provide reliability at predictable costs, allowing players to stabilize their loadouts when resources are tight. The Mystery Crate, by contrast, embodies pure risk versus reward design. It tempts players with the promise of power while threatening waste, delay, or disappointment. This dual system encourages varied play styles. Conservative players can build consistency over time, while risk-takers may gamble early for momentum. Neither approach is strictly superior, which is exactly how it should be. The inclusion of MA Arsenal, the weapon upgrade system, further deepens this layer. Upgrades are not cosmetic, they change how weapons perform and how players prioritize resources. Deciding when to upgrade versus when to expand the map becomes a strategic question rather than a routine action. Enemy design and endurance difficulty in Night of the Undead is not achieved through simple health inflation. Instead, it relies on behavioral variety and pressure. Dog rounds, crawlers, and endless waves are introduced to disrupt patterns and force adaptation. Dog rounds, in particular, serve as pacing shocks, short, intense bursts that test reflexes and positioning. Crawlers slow the tempo while increasing threat density, forcing players to manage space carefully. Endless waves challenge not just skill, but endurance, rewarding coordination, communication, and mental resilience. The result is a difficulty curve that feels earned. Death rarely feels unfair. Survival feels deserved. Solo or co-op, designed for both. One of the most difficult challenges in survival design is supporting both solo and cooperative play without compromising either. Night of the Undead succeeds here by scaling intelligently rather than simplistically. Solo players face a more intimate, high-pressure experience where every mistake is magnified. Four-player co-op, by contrast, becomes a test of teamwork and role distribution. Revives, positioning, and resource sharing matter deeply. Importantly, neither mode feels like an afterthought. The experience does not assume a full squad, nor does it punish players for bringing friends. This flexibility significantly extends replayability and broadens the audience. Community, iteration, and living design beyond the experience itself. Night of the Undead stands out for its ongoing development and community engagement. Feedback is openly welcomed, and updates are frequent and substantive. The transition to Update 3.2, for example, addresses real gameplay friction, barrier bugs, weapon purchase delays, unintended map traversal, and ammo waste. These are not cosmetic fixes, they are quality-of-life improvements that demonstrate a deep understanding of player experience. New systems, such as the expanded free weapon tracking UI and improved ammo logic, show that the project is still evolving. Code refactoring and collaboration with other creators, such as Mike DeLuca_, reinforce the sense that this is a shared creative effort rather than a static release. This living design philosophy is rare and valuable. It transforms the map from a finished product into a growing platform. Cultural impact within Battlefield. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Night of the Undead is its reception. The experience has drawn attention from content creators across the Battlefield and FPS communities, sparking conversations about what Battlefield 6 Portal can and should be used for. Rather than fragmenting the player base, it enriches it. It invites veterans of zombie survival modes to step into Battlefield, while giving long-time Battlefield players a fresh way to engage with familiar mechanics. In doing so, it challenges assumptions about genre boundaries. It suggests that Battlefield does not need to imitate other franchises at the official level to explore new ideas. The tools already exist. Creativity simply needs room to breathe. Conclusion: more than a mode, Night of the Undead is not just a custom map. It is a statement about player creativity, thoughtful design, and the potential of modular game platforms. It respects its inspirations without being beholden to them. It embraces Battlefield's identity rather than masking it. And most importantly, it understands that great survival gameplay is not about spectacle, it is about tension, choice, and progression. For fans of survival shooters, it is an experience worth testing limits on. For designers, it is a case study in adaptation done right. And for Battlefield as a franchise, it is proof that the future does not only come from official content drops, but from passionate players willing to build something meaningful inside the sandbox they love. Map code: ZN76F. How far will you make it before the Undead overwhelm you?